Hello and welcome to my channel. This is Dr. Dawn Michael. Today I'm going to be talking about something that might be a little bit complicated, but stick with me because if this is something that you have been experiencing in your life, it can really help you to unravel it. So what I'm talking about is a sexual fetish, a sexual desire, something that you feel is overwhelming. It may take your breath away. It may feel like it's commanding you to do something. It may be something that you think about all of the time. And so what happens is for many people that are in this situation, it can take over a certain part of your life. And when you allow yourself to do it, it doesn't necessarily feel good. You either end up feeling guilty about it, you just don't feel good physically about it. It's something that's affecting your life in a very negative way. You feel out of control. It could be destroying your relationship. And so if you're in that position and you're feeling that way, then it's really important that you get help and that you resolve it. So the first step is to understand that we all have free will. We all have choices. We make choices every second of the day. Sometimes we don't even realize we're making a choice, but we make choices. So let's say that a thought comes into your mind and it's a thought that maybe it turns you on, maybe it arouses you, maybe it upsets you, maybe you feel compelled to think about it. You may have all of these feelings, but you also have a choice not to think about it. You also have a choice not to do it. You also have a choice to do something else. And so, even though you may have spent many years feeding these thoughts or giving these thoughts energy or feeling like you're helpless or out of control to these thoughts, you chose at that time to allow yourself to do those things. So you can choose to unravel it. It's not easy though. I'm not saying this is easy. And when I work with people, that's one of the first things I will say is if it is affecting your life so negatively and it is a problem, then it definitely is worth unraveling it, taking time to pull it apart, and to work through it. Again, the first step is realizing that you're not powerless, that you have power over it, and that you eventually can change it. So I'm going to equate it to a computer program. So let's say you press the enter button and you go into a computer program, perhaps one that you've built up, you've spent time, you've put energy into it. Maybe you have it running a certain way and and you're benefiting from it, right? So that would be something good, like a good computer program. But let's say that you built a computer program and you realize that it wasn't a good computer program. Maybe it was bad, but you can't really get out of it. You have to figure out how to get rid of it or to change the wiring. That's kind of like your brain. We can program our own brain. When we do something, a habit over and over and over again, or a pattern over and over again, you're programming your mind. And not only are you programming it, each time you do it or you think about it, you're giving it energy. And that energy is very powerful because once you give your mind that energy and you program it, the system almost goes on its own. So these thoughts will pop up in your mind because they're there. They're at the forefront of your brain. It's not something that you've learned to push back. It's not something that isn't important. They're actually at the forefront of your mind because you think about them all the time. So you give them power every day. And so for you, it probably feels like it's a bit out of control, that it's just the thoughts come to you and you're out of control. And yes, I understand that the thoughts come to you because you think about them. But again, at that moment when they come to you, you have to stop and realize that's when you press the button to go back into the computer, or that's when you decide to do something else. Because once you go back into those thoughts, it's very hard to get out of them. And if it is a sexual thought, it's even more difficult because sometimes there is arousal with it. And when you get aroused by something, you release adrenaline in your brain, you release dopamine in your brain, and those are very, very powerful hormones. And so once you start releasing that, then that's when you feel perhaps the anxiety sets in, that you get the shortness of breath. And to relieve that, you actually have to do the sexual act or you have to think about it. And so it sets up this continual hamster wheel that you're on. So, once again, if this resonates with you and this is something that you are struggling with, it's something that you can change and you can get help for. You're not doomed. You're not, going to feel this way the rest of your life, but you do need to be proactive and do something about it and realize that it's not easy at first. It takes 3 months to change a pattern. And so you have to learn to rewire it. That's what I do when I work with people is I help them rewire what they're thinking. And it also is by giving them motivation, coaching them to work in one direction, helping them to change things up in their lives. Because if you're trying to eliminate something, it's very hard to do if you don't have something good to replace it with, something healthy, something that makes you feel good. The other aspect of this is it all takes a hit on the way you feel about yourself. So if you're constantly feeling bad about yourself or negative about yourself, it's even more difficult to try to change this aspect of your life because you're constantly putting yourself down, shaming yourself. And all of that will make you feel crappy. And then once you feel crappy, you're going to want to do something to make yourself feel better. So you're probably going to get back involved with the fetish or the desire or whatever you're doing that makes you feel good for the moment. But in the end, it makes you feel crappy. So I guess the first step for you is the realization that you're not helpless, the realization that you're not a victim, the realization that you do make a choice, that you can control it, and that you're going to decide each time something comes into your head whether you're going to take action or not and be responsible for it. A lot of times people are not responsible and they let themselves just get away with things. And the problem with that is in the end, it comes and bites you in the butt because you don't feel good in the end. You feel even worse. So taking responsibility for your actions is one way to stop feeling bad about yourself. I know I gave you a lot of information. If this is you, please watch it again and try to digest it. It's very complicated. But I want to give you that not so much ray of hope, but empower you that you can do something about it. You're not a victim to these feelings, that you do make a choice. And if it's something that's really destroying your life, really hurting you and really causing you pain or harm in your relationship, it's time that you take responsibility and do something about it. All right, I hope this video has helped you today. As you know, I believe everyone deserves to have a healthy sex life, and so do you. Make it a great day.